नासिका वरदनिघ्नतो नेह किं वधा। विषजलापया व्यालराक्षसात् वर्षमारुता वैद्युतानला। विषजलापया व्यालराक्षसात् वर्षमारुता वैद्युतानला। वृषमयात्मजा विशतो भया ऋषभते वयं रक्षितामुः। वृषमयात्मजा विशतो भया ऋषभते वयं रक्षितामुः। न खलु गोपिका नन्दनो भवान् अखिल देहिना अन्तरात्मद्वे। न खलु गोपिका नन्दनो भवान् अखिल देहिना अन्तरात्मद्वे। विखनसार्थितो विश्वगुप्ताये सख उदेवा शाश्वताङ्कुले। विखनसार्थितो विश्वगुप्ताये सख उदेवा शाश्वताङ्कुले। तव कथामृता तप्त जीवना कविभिरीरिता कल्मषापहम्। तव कथामृता तप्त जीवना कविभिरीरिता कल्मषापहम्। श्रवणमङ्गला श्रीमदातता भुवि गृह्णन्ति जे भूरिदा जना। श्रवणमङ्गला श्रीमदातता भुवि गृह्णन्ति जे भूरिदा जना। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Gaura Hari Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Kamlesh Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, we would like to welcome all the devotees for this most auspicious association of the disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And every Sunday, we have this session where we hear from the different disciples of Guru Maharaj, the glories of Srila Guru Maharaj. So today we are having with us His Grace God Hari Prabhu, sharing about Srila Guru Maharaj. And I would like to request His Grace Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu to kindly introduce Prabhuji to begin the session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. It is my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce such a Vaishnav as His Grace Gaura Hari Prabhu. He is a dear God brother and he's a very close friend of mine. Now, Gaura Hari Prabhu is a wonderful, wonderful devotee, totally dedicated to Guru Maharaj and the Lord. Those of you who know him know of his dedication and his sense of duty. You know, this is a reflection of how he and the mood that he served our dear Guru Maharaj. He served our Guru Maharaj for decades, and also serving the Lord. He's been a deity pujari at the weekends for decades also, unbroken and totally selflessly serving their lords. So this is Gaura Hari Prabhu. But don't tell him I said that and I glorified him. He'll never believe it, so don't tell him. But, you know, just a little bit about Gaura Hari Prabhu. He met Guru Maharaj in May 1989. And then Guru Maharaj gave him first initiation during Kartik of 1991, and then followed by second at Radhastami in 1993. So he is a very senior devotee amongst our God family, and an exemplary one. So, what I'd like to ask him to start off with is how he first came into contact with the devotees.
Thank you, Kamlesh Prabhu, Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu, for your introduction. Certainly, I don't recognize any of those words as belonging to me. So maybe you got me mixed up with another speaker for next week. But it's very kind of you nonetheless. But before I start, I guess I wanted to say a sort of thank you to the organizers of actually these remembrance sessions. Prema Manjari, a very special devotee who I first met, well, in England when she was at Reading University. Prem Avatar Prabhu as well, who have been doing a wonderful service actually every week without fail, inviting devotees to speak about their interactions with Guru Maharaj. And for the most part, I've tried to sort of, log on and participate and listen. And it's been really comforting, actually, to remember Guru Maharaj and hear from different disciples, actually, their perspective of Guru Maharaj and their interactions. And I feel that it's kind of, well, most notably last week only, we had Kinchana Prabhu and his dear wife, Janava Devi, and her father, Lila Purushottam Prabhu, who gave a wonderful, wonderful talk, actually. And it's most relishable. And then I think before that, there was also Naveen Krishna Prabhu from the UK, and also from South Africa, from South Africa, and Rati Manjari from the US. So, it's been really good to sort of hear from devotees all over the world, in fact. And it's, churned that nectar and made it more sweeter. So I really don't understand why you've invited me along today, because, it's kind of really adding salt into the sweet rice. But anyway, Prema Manjari insisted, so here I am. So I'd like to offer my pranams first. Nam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Taleshima Natiju Swami Nitinam Neshnita Sheta Supameta Vagnyam Jasa Utam Prabhupada Kata Pranam Nomi Bhakti Charu Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Taleshima Bhakti Danta Swami Nitinam Namaste Sarasati Guru Bhai Nene Vishesha Shinibai. Is it okay if I begin? Prabhu?
Yes, present.
Okay, thank you. I think to go back to Kamlesh Krishna's first question, sometimes I'm asked, how, because I don't know if many of you know, I was born in Pakistan, a Muslim family back in '62, and how did sort of somebody from my background come to meet with devotees? And I think maybe common with many other devotees here listening online, actually, that actually to come across the devotees is actually the mercy of other devotees, actually, right? Because, certainly in my case, I've been sort of knowingly or unknowingly wandering around in this material universe trying to enjoy myself. And then somehow, through some inconceivable mercy, one comes across a devotee of the Lord. And And in my case, my parents moved to the UK from Pakistan in 1965 when I was about 3. In that generation, they mainly worked in factories. It was manual work that they did. And my mother worked in one such factory, and there were a lot of other Indian ladies there in the factory as well. And they used to share their lunch. And so the other ladies used to bring these almonds and mystery kind of thing. And she used to accept it, but she didn't eat it because she knew that it was, probably offered to various sort of demigods, Hanuman or Shiva, whatever. So she kind of politely accepted it, but she didn't actually eat it. And then my mum would come home, and then, I've always had a sweet tooth, and then she would give it to me. And I would kind of relish this prasadam from a very early age. So, maybe it was my mum's fault. And then and I guess in one's life, it's a series of events which in of themselves seem quite random, right? But actually, when you look at them in their entirety, you can see perhaps something else is going on, right? So that was kind of my very early years. And then as a teenager, with students, there was a kind of sort of shopping area called High Street Kensington in Kensington. And we used to just loiter around there, essentially, me and my brothers. And I came across a devotee who was giving out records, LP records. I don't know, some of you may remember sort of records, vinyl records, right, that they used to give out. And this was the Radha Krishna album. And I suppose what attracted me to it was just the cover initially. It was a very bright cover. And so then I paid a donation, excuse me. And then at home, we used to play this record. And unknowingly, one of my favorite tracks was the actual Govindam prayers, and we used to sort of ramp up the volume as loud as possible. Little did I know then that's the same during Darshanati. They played quite loud as well. Right. So we used to listen to that quite a lot. And and then really, I suppose that kind of record got lost in the collection that we had at the time. And then I met a young girl called Renu, who at the age of 16, and she later is my wife, initiated as Radhika. And actually, in one way, you could say that she brought me to Krishna consciousness, because she came from a Hindu background, and that was also a challenge, a Muslim boy marrying a Hindu girl. So even then, as is, I suppose, to some degree, even today, that's quite a challenge. And she used to go to Radhalaneshwara temple, and I suppose she was being cultivated by a devotee there, Manjari, god sister of ours, who was left this world a few months ago, in fact. And she met devotees there. We had a South London, a Namahata center in South London. And I got a little bit interested. I used to drop her off for the Sunday feast and then pick her up. I didn't actually go in to the Namahat festival, Namahat program. And then she said, oh, they're also serving food. And then I thought, oh, okay. You know how it is, once you get a taste for halva, you're kind of hooked. So that was the same in my case. And then slowly, I was, in those days, I was working in central London. And then we would go to the morning program at Radhalaneshwara temple and then go to work. And that was my sort of first, I suppose, interaction or introduction with devotees, actually. But yeah, that was kind of my first meeting with devotees. Firstly, basically on the street in Kensington, when they were distributing records or going out on Harinam. But yeah, that was my first interaction. I mean, I first met Guru Maharaj I first met Guru Maharaj, I think as Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu mentioned, in New Mayapur during Nishingadev Chaturdasi in May 1989. And Jamuna Devi and a few others actually, Govinda, I think as well, from Switzerland, were getting initiated. And I was invited along, and I thought, okay, it'd be a nice holiday. So I went to New Mayapur in France with my sort of long hair and jeans and t-shirt. So I think the devotees pretty much tolerated me there. And that's how I first met Guru Maharaj. And it was obviously Guru Maharaj, even then I could see he was a very special personality. And it wasn't until actually I came back to the UK, then I again had the opportunity to have darshan of Guru Maharaj at Bhaktivedanta Manor, in fact, in what was then called the Pink Room, which is now the library, right? And during that conversation, basically Guru Maharaj, it was I took it as a casual conversation on my part, and I was studying at the time and working accountancy exams. That's the life of accountants, I guess. And Guru Maharaj asked me what I wanted to do after I finished my studies. And I just said, I guess like most students, I just wanted to travel, right? And then Guru Maharaj said, oh, okay, why don't you come traveling with me for a year? And I kind of just blurted out, I sort of jumped at the opportunity to do that. And then it was only when I was traveling back home that I kind of, I guess, tried to rationalize in my mind the practicalities of that. And I thought, well, it was a casual conversation, maybe Guru Maharaj didn't mean it, or maybe I didn't kind of really mean it as such. And but my wife then was like saying that, well, actually, you should go, definitely you should go. But still, I wasn't really convinced. I also asked a lot of devotees who I'd befriended at Radhalaneshwara temple I took their advice on what I should do. And they were also, advising me to go, right? And, I couldn't quite understand. Everybody was telling me to, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity just to give up my job. I could always come back and get another job and just go traveling. So I took that advice, and I kind of effectively resigned my job and joined a traveling party. In those days, it was in September 1990. Guru Maharaj used to organize tours, right, from basically Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, and then Vrindavan. And this was at the time, was the same, around the period of his Vyas Puja. So it was like a 3-month tour, actually. I'd never been to India, never stayed at a temple. Up till then, I didn't have much interaction, so to speak, with devotees, let alone, a sannyasi of Guru Maharaj's stature. So I found myself in Sridham Mayapur, and that's, I guess, where I first, that's where Guru Maharaj's invitation, trying to follow that instruction, I was in Mayapur suddenly, in the heart of international ISKCON, holy Dham, and I think I was completely out of my depth in many respects. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit about how I first met Guru Maharaj.
That's amazing. It illustrates the power of prasadam, of devotees, and where it can actually take you, but also the mercy of Shri Gurudev to actually pick you up and take you and bring you to where you are now. So just a bit about that, you've told us how, you first met Guru Maharaj and the sequence of events there. But how did you come to serve Guru Maharaj? How did you first become his servant? That would be nice to hear.
Okay. Okay. So really, excuse me. So yeah, as I said, found myself in Sridham Mayapur with a group of devotees on this tour, and at the time there was a disciple, Vishwambara, from the US, I believe, who was serving Guru Maharaj, and he had to go back to the States, the US, and so then apparently Guru Maharaj needed a kind of servant, secretary, right, to assist him. And at the time, he asked Priyavata Prabhu, which many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. And for some reason, even which I don't really understand even to today, Priyavata recommended me. All right. And later on, I found out actually that even Guru Maharaj was quite surprised that Priyavata Prabhu was recommending me, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he asked Priyavata, are you sure?" And Priyavata, for some reason, had some kind of confidence in me, and so I asked, okay, so what do I need to do? Because I've first time in the Dharma, I don't really know what a sannyasi is, the duties, etc. So Prabhupada Prabhu said to me, well, you sit here, you come in the morning, you sit in the corner, and whenever Guru Maharaj wants something, you go and get it. So I thought, okay, that's should be easy enough for me at least. And really that's, again, the mercy of other devotees, how I had this, for me, it was a unique opportunity actually, from never having stayed in a temple, first time in India, as I say, no understanding of what a guru is or a sannyasi is. I got this opportunity. I'd be in Guru Maharaj's room at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be with him throughout the day until about 9 p.m. And it was, it was quite intense. There was about 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the day to, grab some lunch and, do a bit of laundry, personal kind of things like that. And that was the routine actually from every day. It became the routine for a good month or so that I was in with Guru Maharaj from 4:30. We'd go down for Mangalarti, observing Mangalarti, come back, and he'd have some orange juice. And then he would, had various duties. He was either meeting with devotees or attending meetings himself, GBC meetings typically, right? Or just, writing, etc. Right? And I was just in the room, and literally, as Priyavata said, whenever Guru Maharaj wanted anything, I'd try my best to serve him in whatever capacity I could. And then it was really, the tour moved on from Mayapur to Jagannath Puri, and then to Vrindavan as well. And I'm not sure how many are familiar in the Krishna Balaram Mandir guest house. Guru Maharaj used to have one room there. It was quite, in those days, it was not so built up as Vrindavan is now today. There was no MVT as such. And it was quite a large room, and I had a little annex to one side, and I used to take rest there. And I think, the previous 6 weeks or so was quite intense. And so in my service, Guru Maharaj was often, as many of you know, he was, he'd get up and very early in the mornings, chant his rounds, and he kind of, I guess, wanted me to follow the same routine. I don't think I was anywhere near that level, of course. And I often found myself, or actually, he in Vrindavan, he would already have got up early and attended Mangalati, and I was still sleeping in that annex. And then he'd like call out my name, and it was like, wow. Then it was like something that just penetrated you, and you quickly woke up. And then after Vrindavan, I think then the Guru Maharaj was going to travel to the US, but he was only in the US for 2 weeks, I think it was, and that's quite costly in those days. So he said, rather than, and I was quite eager to follow him, of course, to the US. And he said, rather than come to the US, because he was only there for 2 weeks, I could meet him in South Africa, in fact. And so I went back to the US, no, I went back to UK, in fact. And I had to sit some exams. And for me, it became very difficult because having that sort of intense association with Guru Maharaj for a good 2 months or so, I was back in dreary winter, in UK, in a library trying to study. And I must admit, I couldn't cope with it. I then, one day, I found out that Guru Maharaj was actually in Paris. And I phoned up Paris Temple, and Balaram Prabhu was traveling with him in those days. And so Balaram Prabhu said, I asked Balaram, oh, is it okay if I, come and meet him in Paris? And Balaram Prabhu said, yeah, sure, just, come over. And I kind of, it was a bit of another rash decision of mine. I quickly packed a suitcase. I didn't know where Paris Temple was. The only address I had was from Back to Godhead magazine, so I took the magazine with me, and I had £20. I left a note for my wife that I'd gone to Paris, and got the last flight out, I think, on the day, bought a ticket at the airport, and eventually made it to Paris Temple. And it took rest. It was about midnight. I got to Paris Temple, and then the following morning, Guru Maharaj walked into the room where I was taking rest and said, "Okay, let's get up. Let's go to New Mayapur." So, and then our travels really continued in Europe as well, and like that. And then I had to I came back to the UK, and then this time I went to South Africa. And South Africa, I'm sure many of you have been there. It's a very special country, actually. In those days, South Africa, it was still under apartheid regime, and if you couldn't fly, well, certainly from India, you couldn't fly direct. You had to stop over in Mauritius, and that was also part of Guru Maharaj's routine when he went to South Africa. When traveling he'd go from Mumbai, spend about 4, 5, 6 weeks in Mauritius, and then fly on to South Africa. Typically, Johannesburg would be his first stop, and where they had, back then, a new temple had been just constructed, and so we would spend some time there. And then we'd go to Durban Temple and Cape Town as well. So for me, yeah, it was quite an intense time, just being in Guru Maharaj's presence, and in a way, you're really sort of traveling and getting to meet with so many devotees in different countries. Having, just seeing how Guru Maharaj interacted with so many either disciples, guests, preaching opportunities. In Durban, when we went once during Rath Yatra, Rath Yatra would be during December time, Christmas time, and it would be a week-long festival. So, Guru Maharaj really enjoyed his time, his trips to South Africa. And so kind of in a nutshell, that's how I kind of first came to serve Guru Maharaj.
That's absolutely wonderful. The adventures that you had with Guru Maharaj just seem so exciting and dynamic. And again, it underlines your surrender and your dedication to Guru Maharaj, that you felt that you had to go and join him wherever he was. And in a way, abandoning poor Radhika with just a little note. I think that's quite funny. She's waiting for that note still now. Well, just based on your traveling, is there any one special moment that you remember that you shared with Guru Maharaj during your travels?
Oh, yeah. This was actually in India, actually. At the time we were in India, the Guru Maharaj he was organizing weddings. In those days, he would organize weddings for his disciples. And there were two couples who were going to get married, one from the UK and one from France. And initially, they wanted to have the wedding in Mayapur temple. But from my understanding, they don't allow weddings in Mayapur. But then Guru Maharaj also said that it was basically then trying to have a pandal program in Calcutta. And the idea was that it would be good to sort of, it was a preaching event, essentially, a public event, wedding of Western people, Western disciples, a Vedic wedding, in fact, Western disciples taking up, engaged in a Vedic wedding. But for whatever reason, he wasn't able to do that. And in fact, we had moved on to Vrindavan. And actually then Guru Maharaj asked me when we got to Vrindavan if I was married. And I said yes. I mean, I was married before I came in the Association of Devotees. I had a civil wedding, sort of civil ceremony, because, the sensitivities of a Muslim boy marrying a Hindu girl meant that we couldn't really have a religious, either an Islamic wedding or a Hindu wedding. So we just had the sort of civil, according to English law, wedding. So Guru Maharaj said to me, basically turned around and said to me, well, that's not a proper wedding. Right? You should get married properly, have a fire sacrifice. So almost, it was literally at the last moment I found, we both, my wife and was with me at the time, we were both also the third couple who were going to be married. And so this was in Vrindavan. And then, and again, actually, here's a Priyavata Prabhu, again, mercy of a special devotee who meant he had organized at Varshana, a wedding ceremony at Varshana. So Varshana, as I'm sure you all know, is a palace. There's a palace built there, in fact, for Radharani's palace. Right? And so all of the three couples were married in the forecourt of the temple, the palace there. Right? And so that was quite a special moment. As I say, I certainly didn't expect to be, to play any part of that. And again, it just totally demonstrated like the mercy that Guru Maharaj had, and he wanted to see his disciples properly situated, and he conducted the wedding there, and yeah, he in those days he would somebody would go out and buy saris, wedding saris, I guess from Loy Bazaar, and then he'd pick the sari for the respective bride, and so the couples then did a sort of, would have to go on parikrama in wedding saris, and I was tied to my wife, kind of thing. It was quite amusing at the time. And then we were able to sort of basically sponsor a wedding feast for the village, and everybody came, and it was quite a remarkable event. It turned out to be that through Guru Maharaj's expert arrangement and Prabhupada's expert arrangement, I guess, and that someone's got the mercy.
What a wonderful scene that must have been. But, our dear God brother, Priyavata Prabhu, arranging everything. So, that is a special memory.
Yeah. I mean, one other memory I had was, there's quite a few, but this was, I guess, maybe a little bit, maybe on the funny side. We were staying in Mumbai, and so Guru Maharaj, we were having dinner with some guests. I was invited with Guru Maharaj for dinner with some guests in their restaurant, Govinda's. And but the next morning I knew that we had a flight, and so I was kind of keen to basically excuse myself from the dining table and pack Guru Maharaj's luggage and get ready for the following morning. And so I asked Guru Maharaj's permission if I could pack his bags, and he basically encouraged me to stay, and we can do that in the morning, he kind of said, and basically just sit and have some more ice cream. Okay, some more ice cream. So I had some more ice cream, and then it was quite late in the evening when we took rest, and of course, what happened in the event was, I think the alarm didn't go off, and neither of us woke up. Well, at least Guru Maharaj woke up fairly quickly, and then he realized that we were late for the flight, and so there was a bit of a panic, and I had to basically, he asked me to run downstairs to the lobby and find out if the taxi had arrived. And so I literally just got out of my sleeping bag, and he asked me to run downstairs, go and find out if the taxi arrived. And so I dashed downstairs into the hotel lobby, and it was only when I got there, I froze and realized I was standing in this hotel lobby. It must have been about 8:30 in the morning or something, with just a gamsha on. And an embarrassing situation, almost, also maybe a humorous situation. And thankfully the taxi hadn't arrived, and I sort of ran back upstairs and told them that the taxi hadn't arrived, and he said, "Okay, well, quickly take bath, wash your face," and then we were leaving, and he in fact, Guru Maharaj ended up packing the bags, which I wanted to do the previous day. So he just quite literally just threw everything into the suitcase, and we quickly packed up and made a dash to the airport. I just got there before the gate closed. So that was one piece of adventure, one humorous part.
My word, what a horrific picture, you standing in your gamsha.
Oh yeah, well, that was quite horrific. Yes, quite embarrassing.
So, can you please tell us what were the few things that Guru Maharaj must have said to you that inspired you then and still carries on inspiring you?
Okay. That's a tough one. Guru Maharaj, I think this was in Mauritius, actually. I don't know if many of you have been to Mauritius. Mauritius, I've only been to Mauritius because Guru Maharaj was there, and I was traveling with him, and I've never been back, of course. Mauritius is a paradise island, in fact, right? And we were staying in Mauritius in a beachside apartment. very kindly, a local politician had allowed us to use his beachside apartment while he stayed in a city apartment. And yeah, then there's a couple of things that happened actually. We were, I guess, a little bit selfishly, we would wake up in the mornings, and because you'd literally walk out the back door and there was just miles of sandy beaches and ocean, and we would swim in the ocean and then come back to the apartment and take a shower, wash off the sand, etc. And there were a few of us there, but I was the main culprit. Nobody, well, I didn't think that actually it might be a good idea to clean the shower with, all the sand that accumulated. And then one day, Guru Maharaj took it upon himself to clean it. And I was really embarrassed. I tried to take the Charu, the brush that he was using, from his hand, right? And he wouldn't give it to me. I tried a few times, but he wouldn't give it to me. And he just turned around and said to me, even a sannyasi needs to learn how to be humble. And it really just broke my heart, actually, right? Certainly I was in the mood of enjoying, Mauritius, and I stay in Mauritius. And and I was not really being attentive to, the service that I ought to have been doing. It should be me who was doing the cleaning and looking after Guru Maharaj. But instead I was more kind of in the mood of enjoying. And so that, to me, demonstrated, how humble Guru Maharaj is. He even though he was such a senior devotee in our movement, but when it came to it, certainly when I showed lacking, he took up the brush and started cleaning the bathroom, which was really embarrassing, heartbreaking for me. And one thing, when we were in Mauritius, he in a conversation, he said to me that Krishna consciousness is an adventure, right? Is an adventure. And he went on to explain that for many people coming to Mauritius, right, is they come. It's only in those days, probably still now, it's an expensive place to go on holiday vacation, right? And so it's quite rare that people go to Mauritius. And he said, as devotees, we are able to travel all over the world. We meet so many different people, right? Celebrities, famous people, business people, and certainly, for me, that has been the case. When I think back, because at one point when Mukund Maharaj used to come and stay in the UK, His Holiness Mukund Maharaj, I was his chauffeur essentially, right? And then one day he's, because of his connection with the Beatles, George Harrison, so he asked me to drive him to George Harrison's place, which is just outside of London, right? So yeah, I mean, as a devotee, I got to meet, George Harrison, who there's very few people who have that opportunity, I guess, right, as non-devotees. I met George Harrison. I'm in South Africa. I was briefly introduced to Nelson Mandela at the time, and I think it was the president there during apartheid was F.D. de Klerk, I believe. He was president there, and also during Ujjain temple opening, I think it was Asha Roy who came to open the Ujjain temple. Maybe Ramavata Prabhu might be able to correct me if I'm wrong there. And so yeah, it's been so Guru Maharaj is absolutely right that as a devotee that we have an opportunity to travel all over the world, meet so many people, celebrities, business people. So, and it has been an absolute adventure, because if I wasn't, say, traveling with Guru Maharaj, it was, then I got involved in organizing the European retreats as well for Guru Maharaj. And I think on previous talks that we've had, you may recall the first one was in Switzerland, and then subsequently to that, they've been in Malaga, Spain, and also organized for Croatia, right? Croatia 2 or 3 times, Bangladesh as well, right? And again, most lately in 2019, I think 19 was New Mayapur retreat. And yeah, so everything in the service of Guru Maharaj is an adventure, because doesn't always go according to plan. So there's always some adventure, some obstacle that needs to be overcome. But that enhances actually the interactions with other devotees, sort of loving interactions that we try to cultivate our devotees.
Great recollections, especially of Guru Maharaj's humility in Mauritius.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Recounting all the adventures with Guru Maharaj, because being with Guru Maharaj was always an adventure, and at times challenges, where, as both of us know, at that time, it's a bit of trepidation. But then looking back into it, it works out as a wonderful adventure that one shares with Guru Maharaj. So thank you. Now, just finally, do you have any final thoughts about your pastimes with Guru Maharaj?
I think one that's always been special for me is, as initially in the early days, I was there with Guru Maharaj for practically 18 hours of the day, and one of the things my responsibility was to set out his cloth that he would wear for that day, and over time I developed some favorite of mine at least, that I like to see Guru Maharaj wearing. And so I used to try very diligently to make sure all the pieces are there. And this was, I think it was in South Africa. He had a set that was it was very shiny, the silk was very shiny actually, and so I put that out, and he wore that set, and in the evening we were going to the Pandal program, and Guru Maharaj would be giving a lecture, and then kirtan, etc. Right, and he looked just completely effulgent, right, at that time, and so he started the kirtan, and the class never really happened at all. It was such an ecstatic kirtan, and everybody just got onto the stage and dancing, and Guru Maharaj was really enjoying it. And then it was just such an ecstatic kirtan. The class never happened, and we reached back to where we were staying quite late in the evening, and then he must have been about midnight, just gone midnight. And he turned around and asked me, "Oh, can you?" He wanted to wear that set again the following morning. And it was like, okay. I was like, all right, Garage, yeah, I'll make sure it's washed, dried, and ironed for you to wear in what was basically a few hours' time. So I washed the cloth, pretty much dry ironed it, and then it was available for Guru Maharaj to wear at the following morning. And so that was those kind of moments were always very special. Also, another kind of responsibility, a service I had, was to, I'm not sure why, because he would often ask, Guru Maharaj would ask me to massage, give him a massage. I'm not qualified. I've never been qualified to give as a masseur as such. And I was shown a couple of times by Radha Prabhu in Mayapur. He showed me how to give massage. And then, and so that was one of my sort of last things in the evening, right, before I took rest, was, Guru Maharaj wanted to have a massage. And it was a very sort of intimate kind of interaction moments, because, excuse me, the lights, we turn off the lights, close the curtains, and Guru Maharaj would rest on his bed, and as best I could, I'd try and give him a massage. And then, after about half an hour, I'd take rest myself. So that was, very, very kind of special interaction for me.
Oh, Hari Prabhu, thank you for sharing your experiences with Guru Maharaj. I know that just in conclusion, you have some slide presentation, etc., that you'd like to share with us. So
Yeah.
kindly hand over to you. So
Yes.
thank you so much for
Yeah, sure.
sharing your wonderful pastimes with our dear Guru Maharaj and serving him so diligently. I'm sure the devotees would also echo it, but they'd like to say thank you and our gratefulness for your service to our dear Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu. There's many more devotees here, or maybe not here also, who have rendered far better and greater service than I've been able to do. And Guru Maharaj, also another thing that comes to mind was that he and we've heard actually that he was always caring for his devotees and particular his disciples, and something for me, the way that manifested for me was that because coming from a Muslim background, and then he would always ask me, Guru Maharaj, how my family felt, and what would happen if they found out. And so I tried to reassure Guru Maharaj that he didn't need to worry, and what will be, so to speak. And then sometimes when either more lately the political situation wasn't so favorable, again he would ask me again, right? What if your family, they knew, but what if other people found out, you're coming from a Muslim background, and unfortunately in today's world, as we know, people who take quite extremist views, but he'd often ask me that, and I tried my best to reassure him that he didn't worry, right? And but yeah, that was Guru Maharaj's. Often he would inquire like that, right, just to make sure that you were okay, right, that you're not putting, yourself in any danger or anything like that. But yeah, that was something else I wanted to share with you. Is that Prema Manjari? Devi, is that okay? Was that okay?
I'm really sorry it's not. You can't stop. You should speak a little more, Gaura. Please share some more pastimes.
Oh.
And it's just so wonderful to hear from you. You can do your presentation, and then if you tell us, share some more pastimes.
Okay. I'll try my best. This actually, I hope Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu won't mind.
Sorry?
I hope Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu won't mind me saying this. Anyway.
We can take Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu's permission.
And this is in New Mayapur. Actually, we were traveling. We were traveling on the motorway back to Paris, and there was a couple of things in the car. There's sort of interactions in the car that we had, and we were driving down the motorway, and on this occasion at least, Guru Maharaj, it was a display of actually what was happening is that we were driving on the sort of fast lane, and then there were cars behind us like beeping or overtaking on the inside and cutting in. And then Guru Maharaj, at first he didn't say anything, and then I was in the back of the car. Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu was driving, and he turned around to Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu and said, can't you drive faster, right? So the Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu said, well, Guru Maharaj, we were already doing 80 miles an hour, which was fast, right? And then Guru Maharaj just turned around and said to him, well, what's wrong with 100? Right. So so this is an example of Guru Maharaj. Well, he didn't really like to drive slowly. if he wanted to get somewhere from A to B, he wanted to get there as quickly as possible. Right. And so we put our foot down and drove 100 miles an hour down the motorway. And then there's also part of that journey back, and then there's a bit of a joking interaction, and as I say, I was sitting in the back, so I couldn't really see what was happening in the direction in front of us. And so Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu, he pointed out to Guru Maharaj, that there's these two towers on the horizon, right? And then Guru Maharaj, he sort of noted them. And I guess he understood the prompt that Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu gave, and he said, Guru Maharaj, he said, right, you better not tell Gaura. He might want to try to hire a plane. And he just laughed. He just laughed. And there was just a sort of humorous interactions that sometimes we had with Guru Maharaj. So there was, but I think, Prema Manjari, it was actually, your advice was very good advice, actually, in trying to prepare for this, and I think I would encourage everybody to do the same, actually. I found I needed sort of some solitude and some time to myself. And actually, once you're in that kind of space, and that connection with Guru Maharaj, you can actually, a lot of these, interactions, experiences, thoughts come back to you. So, I thank Prema Manjari for that. Is that okay?
It's just so wonderful to hear from, Guru Maharaj's kind of servants in male bodies, because he had such a different rasa with you all compared to the Matajis who served. Mm-hmm. It was really different, really different. he was more like a father, and he really maintained an etiquette, appropriate cultural etiquette, if I may say so.
No,
But
absolutely.
when we hear from sorry.
You're absolutely right. I mean, as we heard from previous speakers, Guru Maharaj is an aristocrat. Everything that he did, right, was to the T, right. Simple things, right, that I would certainly take for granted. Even if when Guru Maharaj blew his nose, it was like, he just didn't blow his nose kind of thing. He didn't know why. Right. It was class, right? And when he wrote in those days, he used to write letters, right? And I was fortunate to be able to. He would dictate letters or give an outline to a letter, and then I'd have to compile a response and then go back to Guru Maharaj and ask him, read it out, and if that was okay, right? And he'd make some corrections, and then we had a small, either typewriter or in those days a very basic computer we'd use to sort of have it printed out and then sent out in the mail, right? And you'd get a letter in the post, right, in Guru Maharaj's, on Guru Maharaj's letterhead, in its envelope, Tri Dandi Sannyasi, GBC, commissioner. It had the logo, and it's just class, right? And I still have some of those handwritten notes or letters that Guru Maharaj, gave me, and they're a treasure. Serving prasadam also was one of those things that had to be done, spotlessly. So simple, just arranging cutlery, right, on the table, and that's something I learned from Guru Maharaj. When he took prasadam, when he invited guests to take prasadam with him and say at a dinner table, right, he expected the cutlery to be laid out properly, right, and so the plates were in the center of where somebody was going to sit. The napkin was in the right place. The knives were on the right hand side. The forks were on the left hand side. The blade of the knife faced the plate, not the other way. The dessert spoons were in front of the plate. So that's even coming from sort of being brought up in England, I never knew that. So Guru Maharaj, is very particular about these things. So simple things like just taking prasadam was,
Did Guru Maharaj ever? Did you ever get the sauce from Guru Maharaj?
Did I ever get the sauce from Guru? Not so much, I don't think. Maybe he felt that maybe I could handle it. There were occasions then I did get the sauce from Guru Maharaj. There was, one occasion, this was in Mayapur, and we were serving pizzas there. And so, as you know, in these quarters, so there was a family from South Africa, right, whose son had joined, and I guess the parents were kind of concerned, and they wanted to know a bit more about what their son was getting involved in. And so Guru Maharaj actually invited them to Mayapur to reassure them, and so he hosted them, and there was a team. Prabhu was making pizzas we had those pizza ovens that they'd bought from England, right? And so I was the sort of the runner, so to speak. So I was running to the kitchen, getting the preps, and then serving, right? And so the first course was salad, right? And so then they honored the salad prasadam first, Guru Maharaj and the guest, and then pizza. So Guru Maharaj insisted that the guests take first pizza, right? So I served the guests the pizza first. In the meantime, Guru Maharaj had finished the salad. I kind of offered him some more salad. And then the second pizza arrived, he served again to the second guest. So like that, and he was waiting for his pizza, right? And it just wasn't arriving for whatever reason. And then, after 3 helpings of salad, I don't think anybody could have eaten any more salad, right? Then I ran back to the kitchen, right? Like panicked and frantic, right? Where's the pizza? Guru Maharaj is waiting for the pizza. So they got the pizza, and so I rushed back into the room, and I walked up to the table to offer it to Guru Maharaj, and he sat there, and you just knew, and he just shook his head like that. He didn't want the pizza anymore, right? And I didn't really understand because I didn't know what to do. I kept moving forward with the pizza in my hand, and his look became more and more grave, that he just didn't want this pizza anymore, right? So, I was like, what to do now? He doesn't want the pizza. I didn't really want to embarrass, cause a situation in front of the guests. I kind of took the pizza back to the kitchen. And then later on, I got the sauce. Wow, the pizza was late. Anyway, sometimes you have to take it on the chin. So like that, there's another special time that this is in South Africa, in Johannesburg. Yes, Johannesburg. And it wasn't so much a source, actually. This is like, because Govinda Prabhu there used to head up the Govinda's restaurant, appropriately, I guess. And in the winter months, it was quite, obviously our UK winter is South Africa's summer. And he did a lot of service, Govinda Prabhu, in South Africa. And then in the evenings, I had the benefit of Govinda's association. And we used to, about 7 o'clock in the evening, I think it was, and I don't know how to say. So it was like, there's a soft drink. It's a soft drink it's a ginger beer, stony ginger beer, famous in South Africa. And so it was a bit of also when I was so-called off duty a little bit in the evening. So we used to sit literally on at a bus stop and have an ice cold stony beer with ice Govinda. So another, loving interaction where Govinda showed me his mercy and love for me, which I didn't really deserve. So I also, I don't know, Prema, but the Spiritual Connections magazine, right? I have a copy in front of me, which they were able to print. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, right, and it's quite remarkable, actually. What I certainly want to, I guess, express my appreciation and pranams actually to the team who really very selflessly, spent hours, days, right, painstakingly, producing this magazine. It's a kind of, I don't know if you've been able to got a copy, but it's like a full color magazine, right, with various articles. It's a special memorial issue, and it runs to something like 120, just over 100 pages. Right? And it's again, very high quality production, and exactly what Guru Maharaj would want. And I just want to sort of, for my part, a small appreciation to all the devotees here. His Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj, Govinda Prabhu, Janava Devi, Shyamananda Krishna Prabhu, Sanskrit editor was Kartik Chandra Prabhu, proofreaders Prema Leela, Devidasi, Rati Manjari, Hari Priya, Ramanandini, Devidasi. Again, the design and the graphics was Govinda Prabhu, Janava, Archana, layout, Raj Kumari, Devi, absolute wonderful webmaster, Vinod Bihari, Krishna Prabhu, wonderful production. And I'm fortunate to have these. And if I may, I'm conscious that I'm maybe I'm overrunning my time, aren't I? I just wanted to, maybe if I read His Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj's excerpt just a little bit. Is that okay? Okay, I need my glasses here. His Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj often said, "My duty as your spiritual master is to connect you to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna." These words indicate the essence of his mood, a life of dedication to keeping Srila Prabhupada and his teachings in the core of the heart of ISKCON and every ISKCON devotee. In the life of His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj, there were many expressions of that spirit, such as the filming of a Boy Charan series, the establishing of Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya of ISKCON, his work as a member of the GBC committee on Srila Prabhupada, and the organization of Srila Prabhupada's memorial festivals. When Maharaj published the first